what I am against is the women's liberation movement.
I wanted to start off with Mrs. America. I imagine it's got to be hard to say no to a project like this, but could you tell me a little bit about like how you got involved?
At the time I had a 6-month-old child. She's now 16 months old, but I hadn't worked. I got this offer out of nowhere, and it was for this thing starring Kate Blanchett, and I just was like, what? But it just was so good. It was impossible to say no. What Davy told me on the phone about Rosemary really was fascinating to me. And just the writing was so good. And then the cast they'd already put together. I mean, Carmen Cuba, who cast it, is so brilliant. I just, what she does is just incredible. And she put together this group of women that's just amazing.
Of course, there isn't an episode called Rosemary, but, we do see an arc from her. And she's one of the women that I think we do ironically see become empowered by this Stop ERA movement. Is there any side of her that you empathize with?
What Davy talked to me about when she asked me to do the part was, Rosemary's very strong religious belief, and whatever beliefs I have now, and I'm very liberal, I was raised Baptist, and that's intense, and there's a part of that belief system that never really leaves you. So I have a very deep sort of visceral understanding of some of the things that these women think are wrong. It's not what I believe, but when you're raised like in a particular religion, just things are kind of ingrained in a way that can be very difficult to shake. So I understood her sort of in my bones. And, Davy also talked to me about how she did want her to be funny. She said, somebody has to be funny. Because, a lot of the show is dealing with very, very serious topics.
The penultimate episode in Houston is wild.
A lot of that episode ended up being night shoots, even though we were inside and we didn't need to shoot anything at night, just the days would go so long. And I had one scene on the final day, and I remember, my call time was like 3 a.m. or something like that. I showed up, I have this little baby, like it felt like a dream. And the episode itself, because of what Sarah's character is going through, also feels like a dream. Oh, but I have to say, it was directed by Janixa Bravo. She really steered the ship and was really in command of everything. And it was a very difficult episode to shoot. So she did an amazing job.
Ever After, I think that's such a touchstone for a lot of people. It's something we feel nostalgic for. And do you hear from a lot of fans about that project?
I do. Women will come up to me, women will come up to me and be like, oh, when I was a little girl, that was my favorite movie. And that was when I realized how much time had gone by. Yeah. When it was just full-grown women who were saying to me that they'd been watching me since they were a little girl. It's really sweet. It's really moving how much that movie resonated with people. And it was such a special time. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was 19 living in the south of France and filming with all these people. We had these amazing big dinners every weekend all together.
We've got Drew Barrymore and Angelica Houston. I had to imagine that this definitely felt like, oh man, this is Hollywood now, right?
Angelica's just a hero of mine. I am obsessed with her as an actor, and here she is giving me advice and being like a big sister to me. And Drew, I just adore.
Obviously, this is kind of flipping the Cinderella narrative on its head by giving her a not completely evil stepsister. Would you have been as interested in the project had she been another evil stepsister?
I mean, at that time, I wasn't really choosing projects based on what's interesting. I just wanted to, I was so excited to be working. I wasn't picking and choosing. I did Coyote Ugly. I, kind of did whatever came along. But yeah, I mean, it was very appealing. It made the project, it really had a lot of sweetness, and the thought of getting to have that particular relationship with Drew, who's just like a little bubble of light and love and joy, it was such a lovely idea to me.
Coyote Ugly. Why would you name your bar that?
Because Cheers was taken.
Coyote Ugly is, again, and I think that you do have a lot of these films, especially early on, we see so many great movies with really strong casts of women.
Those were always the projects I was drawn to. And honestly, I was very excited to do Coyote Ugly. The script I read was had been written by Kevin Smith, and it was very dark and like really gritty and interesting. And I was like, fuck yeah, this is great. And then, I got to the table read and there was just a different script, but still like a very fun, like you're saying, like a great ensemble cast of women, and all of them were really wonderful and just great women. And I'm still friends with Piper, which is lovely.
I'm assuming you met Tyra Banks as well.
I did. I remember like there was one day, I think she came in a helicopter or something like that. There was just this one day where I worked with all the girls, and my little brother, who was 16 at the time, was visiting me on set, and all these supermodels were like literally flying in, and it was a 20-hour day. I remember it was the craziest day, and I kept apologizing to him, and he just was like, what are you apologizing for? This is the best day of my life. Not the shirt right off his back. He ain't got nothing at all.
She had another miscarriage.
What?
And say
when?
Thursday.
Do you remember kind of where your head was as you're going through that scene? What was that experience like for you?
I do. I remember very, very well. Weirdly enough, that was another one of those crazy days where the day started at 2 p.m. and we filmed the scene until 8 a.m. Like, it was crazy. And I had to do that dance because everybody's eye line was on me. So I had to do the dance for so many hours. And when they turned around to film me, it was like 4 a.m. It was so crazy. I was crying the whole time. And I remember at a certain point, just because it was so nuts, everybody just started to fall asleep. Like, I was just looking out and everyone in the audience was asleep, except for John Krasinski, who made full, beautiful eye contact with me every moment I was performing. It's going to make me cry to think of. That scene really meant a lot to me because, at that time in my life, I hadn't been pregnant or tried to get pregnant. I didn't have a ton of sort of personal baggage to take into it, but I had a few months before been at a friend's wedding, and I knew that she had just suffered a pregnancy loss and was really sad, and it was really hard for her to like get her spirits up for this wedding. And at the reception, it was in this big tent. She did this dance for her new husband around the pole in the middle of the tent. And it was this very sexy, intimate dance where he was just kind of sitting there and she was dancing around him. And it felt almost like inappropriate to be watching it. It was so intimate and so moving. But I really was like, oh, she's reclaiming this love that they have. She's reclaiming her own body. She's a sexual being. She's a woman. She's, and they've gone on to have this beautiful family and everything's amazing. And it just was such a powerful moment to know what she had gone through. And so a few months after that, I read the script, and it's basically the exact same moment. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is what, I just witnessed this. Like, I know what that is. I was moved to tears by it. So it feels like it wasn't really me. I just was channeling this, friend of mine and what she had given to me in that moment.
What are your fantasies? If you could do whatever you want, what would you do to Brett?
Make him lose control.
Yeah.
Spontaneous and crazy. Just want to punch him in the face.
Going from Togetherness right to I don't feel at home in this world anymore, and that is another big change.
Yeah.
What was the story there?
Well, my first day on I Don't Feel at Home in This World, we had a makeup test just to make sure everything was looking okay and everything like that. And I got a call from Jay Duplass, my creative soulmate, one of the great loves of my life. And it was him and Mark on the phone to tell me that Togetherness had been cancelled. And it was a huge shock. Like, they were still renting the stage. They'd written most of season 3. Like, nobody really saw it coming. And I just, I was like so devastated, and I didn't know anybody yet at work. I couldn't, I went into the makeup room and I said, I might need to cry for a minute. And they were very sweet. They were like, oh, okay. And I just couldn't believe that I had to work. I just wanted to get into bed and weep for a few days and eat chips.
Do you feel happy with the way things ended? Or, I mean, I'm sure there's a wish that there would have been more, but.
No, I don't feel happy. I mean, I think it was a great ending because they're great writers, but it wasn't supposed to be, I think they're smart enough to be like, just in case, like, let's let it be something that can be kind of wrapped up. But I mean, I would have done that show for the rest of my life. I would have done it forever and ever. It felt like I'd just gotten married and I was so in love and I was so happy and I just was like, this is amazing. And then my husband just left. Like, I just was like, what am I supposed to do now? I was reading other pilot scripts and it felt impossible to do anything else. I just was like, why? And then it just ended up being the most healing thing, because that job, I Don't Feel at Home in This World, was the happiest job I've ever had.
What do you want?
For people to not be assholes.
It was so, so, so great and so fun. And we text every single day, the entire cast and Macon. Mm-hmm. We text, Elijah shows us pictures of the bread that he's baking, and he's very good. I mean, it's crazy. And, people showing pictures of their babies and people saying, I saw your new show. Like, it's amazing. Like, just this beautiful, supportive, loving. It's been 5 years, I think, since we made it, and we're all still texting every day.
It's certainly more graphic than films we're used to seeing you in. Was there an exciting element to that? Was that kind of part of the fun of it for you to dive into, just like, let's get violent? Why not?
Oh my God. So exciting.
Yeah.
So exciting. I've never, I heard that Macon wrote the movie for me. When I read it, I was so amazed that somebody would think I could pull that off. I just was so amazed and so grateful. He's an actor who, Blue Ruin really shows like the depth of what he can do. Mm-hmm. And I think he has a real understanding that there are some actors who just sort of get to show like this much of what they can do sometimes. So I think it meant a lot to him to write it for like a fellow character actor.
Can I see you again? Nobody has to know.
You're awake?
I'm always awake.
Are you seeing someone? What?
Another film that does put you front and center, of course, is Hello, I Must Be Going. Was that a similar project from conception? It was always pitched around you, or how did you become involved with that one?
I did a Sundance reading, and it was me and Dane DeHaan, and I just was like, that was so fun. I'm so happy I got to read that. And then I just didn't think they would make it with me. And then they just really wanted to. And they came to me and they said, the budget is basically nothing because we're making it with you. So, and then Chris Abbott, I just was like, what the fuck is going on here? One of the scenes he had to do is the scene where we get stoned and he's just sort of like rambling on. And like, I swear his eyes turned red, like his eyes got glassy. And I just was like, can he make his eyes look stoned? Like, is he this fucking talented? It was so crazy how great he was. And that was it. I was talking to Chris outside a party and Joaquin Phoenix stopped, like literally stopped in his tracks to freak out about Chris.
Oh, wow.
He just was like, dude, oh my God, you're amazing. You're so amazing.
You're in They Came Together, which is a hilarious movie, but then you also have the role in the Wet Hot American Summer sequel series, which is funny. How did you meet those guys?
I met them because I auditioned for Wanderlust, and I've been obsessed with Wet Hot American Summer since I saw it in the movie theater, and I was obsessed with Stella and like everything they've ever done. And I auditioned for Wanderlust, but they had the option of casting Kathryn Hahn, so they were smart, and they put Kathryn Hahn in the movie, which always put Kathryn Hahn in your movie if you can. But but they were really nice, and they were like, "You're so great. We want to do something with you." And then when they came together, happened. I think maybe Catherine Hahn was busy, so then they asked me to come and do it, which was nice. It just was so fun. It's just so fun to be on set with your comedic heroes. It just was like crazy. I love Michael Showalter so much. I just couldn't even, like, you know, all the amazing people I've worked with, I could barely look him in the eye. I just was, it's too much for me.
You see things and you understand. You're a wallflower.
I didn't think anyone noticed me.
Had you been familiar with the book before, or where was what brought you into that role?
I actually wasn't familiar with the book. I read the script and I was just like, this is gorgeous. I just thought it was beautiful. And, you know, it's like not super fun to play a character like that, but it also, I think, is important to just, you know, tell the story of how sometimes abusers are the people who are closest to somebody, or, you know, people who you'd never guess, who are loved and trusted. And I was in Vancouver for some reason, and I went out with my friend Clea, and Leisha was there, Leisha Haley, and she was so cute, and we had a lot of sort of chemistry. And then she was getting a new love interest on the show, and she was like, "You should be my love interest." And I was like, "Sure." And then everybody hated me. Like, people hated me so much. It was really intense. Also, they called my character Clea, who's my best friend in the world. It was so weird.
Is there something that you do feel that you get recognized more for than anything else?
There was a time when every time I was going through airport security, I would get recognized from Detroit Rock City. The airport security people were all just like, "Oh my God, Detroit Rock City." I don't understand why that happened. It was like a full year of just every time I was at the airport. It was so specific and so weird. And also on flights, like if the pilot is there to like wave everybody off a flight, it's 2.5 men. It's big with pilots, apparently.
Big with pilots.
Yeah.
Hey, Charlie.
Hey,
Something wrong?
I'm not sure. Rose, do you think I'm a misogynist?
Oh, wow, yeah. Why? Did somebody say you weren't?